Hello again from Central Virginia. It is now the middle of May almost, and I just want to show you what's going on in my garden. We'll do a little quick tour around. I have been in and out of town. We've had some issues and unfortunately a death in our family of my father-in-law. So my garden has suffered a little bit of neglect, but there are also some good things going on. So I just want to show you where I am mid-May, Central Virginia, in my no-dig garden. Let's take a look. Let's start on the outside of the garden. You can see my rose alley. You can see the 3 new plants that I planted. This white one, the middle one will be sort of a coral color, and the ones that I planted last year. I also am happy to show you that the plant that got attacked by the voles, I think is going to be just fine. It's got new growth on it. You can see here. And what I did is it was very wobbly because the voles had eaten away a lot of the base. I just put some additional compost in there, gave it a really good drink of liquid feed fertilizer, and I'm really happy that there is a good amount of new growth and also some nice buds popping in. As we walk along, you can see some monarda and sage that are growing from last year, and inside the fence you can see a cabbage and also my row of peppers. Those are my sweet pepper rows. Here's some oregano, and here is the new hops that is starting to climb up. It just appeared last week. Now, something new for me this year is I am starting an external row of tomatoes and eggplants, and there are actually a couple of peppers thrown in there as well. I put a video up a couple days ago about the attack of my on my eggplant by the flea beetles, which I will sadly show you soon again. It's not a pretty picture. So on the exterior here, I've got some peppers growing, I've got some basil growing, I've got some little marigolds that have been planted and have sprung up now. And that's just what I do on my border zone. Down here I have some onions, and I also have a new kind of watermelon. It's called a moonbeam watermelon. I have not yet planted up my arch trellis for squash, but on the interior here I have some sunflowers, and I also have a volunteer winter squash, butternut squash growing. So what I've done in this area, this is my sweet potato growing zone, and I've got a volunteer sunflower coming up there. I have also put some mole repellent in here for the voles, because I know that they destroyed the sweet potatoes in here last year, and I'm really going to be tackling that all year long. Walking around the outside, you see another volunteer sunflower, as well as the honeysuckle, the red flame honeysuckle that's growing up. I have planted melons, some of the Edisto melons, and also some crimson sweet watermelon. And I've also decided to put in some tomato plants along this back trellis. Walking up the exterior, you can see the little watermelons. These are sugar babies growing in there. And I have put an eggplant over on this side, hoping that I can avoid the nasty flea beetles by elevating them up. Here's the lavender patch, which is just growing like crazy. These I planted last year, and they have come back in full blast. They are so beautiful, and the pollinators just love them. This is a patch where it's a no-dig patch, and I have put in things here, and I really am not watering them. Things that don't need to be overwatered. This is sage. I put in some additional lavender, and there is some tarragon that I moved. It had not been doing particularly well, but I think it's going to be happier in this particular location. It's going to get better sun, and it's going to get not as flooded by water. And I think that this little Mediterranean patch here is going to be really, really nice. Look at that tiny little pollinator honing in on those itty bitty lavender flowers, buzzing around. Hello, buddy. Now my blueberries, a lot of them got hit by I think probably a freeze as they were in there blossoming. So I don't have a ton of fruit on my plants, but I do have some, and nonetheless the plants are growing really, really well. I also have some blackberries. This year we will actually see some blackberries on this particular trellis. You can see that this is about to blossom here. These are plants that I moved down from my kitchen garden and established here. So we'll get some nice blackberries growing this year. We've got garlic, we've got rosemary. I've got all sorts of things planted in here, including a little watermelon, sugar baby planted here. And I just direct seeded some more of the moonbeam watermelons here. They'll grow along. These are daisies and oregano and monarda. This is a really healthy looking pepper row that is growing up here. These are mainly hot peppers, but a couple of sweets and also some basil. Here's the artichoke plant growing along. You can see that somebody did come along and take a chomp off of this leaf. I've been having some critter problems out here. For example, this is a monarda plant, and this is a monarda plant that got completely chomped off. So I was not particularly happy about that. And here's another plant that got completely chomped off here. I've never really had problems with things chomping off in this particular patch, but there's a first time for everything. Here's the Ruth Stout potato bed percolating along, and the experimental potato bed. So we'll see how we get, if we get some nice potatoes from this patch. But the artichokes are looking pretty good. Over here, not much is going on. I had put in some dahlias, but I don't know if they're actually going to grow or not. And I am going to give them one more week to show themselves before I say, nope, I'm going to do something else in this patch. And these are some beautiful overwintered snapdragons. And more peppers and lantana. I've got all kinds of things planted in this area from seed. Look at this foxglove. This foxglove is as tall as I am. Just spectacular. And that bee is a very happy bee. Inside the garden, you'll see that lots of beds have been planted, but I still have some things that I need to plant out. Gives me something to do over the next few weeks. Looking towards the south side, you can see that my spring garden here is on the wane. The spinaches have gone to seed, and the lettuces have been, they're about done, but we're still harvesting. Over here, I have some pickling cucumbers that were transplanted a few weeks ago, and they are taking off and doing just fine. In fact, I think we've got our very first blossom in here. It won't produce fruit for a while. The first blossoms are usually male blossoms. And I've got nasturtiums. These are actually, this one was a volunteer that came back from last year. I've got basil in here. I've got some onions in here. I've got some volunteer marigold. I have my tomato row coming along. This is a volunteer squash of some sort. I'm not sure which one, but I'm tempted just to leave it and let it grow out here and see what happens. See what happens with all this. So I have a number of different kinds of tomatoes. I have a DeBruza here. This is an old Virginia. This one's a green zebra. And on down the row, I have an Illinois Star. What's this one? This one is a Kellogg Breakfast. And I have a Red Pride. That's a determinate tomato. Take a look at these guys. These are my turnips. And they are ready to harvest. I'm going to harvest those, and I'm going to roast them with garlic and balsamic vinegar. It changed my thinking about turnips. These are purple top turnips. Got carrots growing over here and some onions tucked in there, but most of this is going to be coming out. You can see that this spinach, it got so hot here that it just went to seed. But I have some cucumbers that are planted in here that are starting up. These are Soyulongs. Here are the peas. I did a video earlier this spring on planting peas, and they are beautiful. These are those spring blush peas, pink blush peas, and they are just a beautiful, beautiful flower. On the ground, we've got some calendula growing. This is this year's sauce patch. I have 13 Roma tomatoes. This is Virginia Select Roma tomatoes. One of those was a casualty. I had to replant this one this morning because it got completely cut off, probably by a cutworm. Here are a couple more determinate tomatoes. I always interplant my tomatoes with marigolds and with basil. So this one is a Mariglobe, and this one is a Red Pride bush tomato. Here are my potatoes that are growing in 2 containers. These are Purple Majesty and Yukon Gold. The white that you see on it is spinosad. It is there to protect against the Colorado potato beetle. It is an organic approved treatment. Here are leeks. In fact, I probably should pull this pot. Oh, it's too heavy to pull. I was going to say pull it down, but I can't pull it. This one is all ready to harvest. This, as are these. And then there's some new leeks coming along. And here is the bean patch. This is what I'm doing succession planting on. So that was the first row of beans. Then 3 weeks after that, I planted this row of beans and this row of beans. This is dragon tongue. And today I planted another row of dragon tongue just right in here. That is hyssop. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's an herb. In the pot, I've got more carrots growing. Here is borage. And here is I had this tomato plant got pulled. You can see the hole right back here was a bowl hole. This was a Old Virginia, and I replaced it today along with the Cherokee purple there. And this is the very pathetic, golly, the very pathetic eggplant. And these are flea beetles that have still gotten on here. Well, they're hopping off. Even though I have put down the spinosad, I don't think it's going to work. I really don't. I think I'm going to lose all of these eggplants. See the flea beetles? Ah, little persistent things. So sad. Loads and loads and loads of tomatoes interplanted with marigolds and basil. And so I've got all kinds of things growing here. It's going to be lovely. Now this lemon balm plant, the big plant itself was eaten, sawed off by the voles over the winter, but it sprung a lot of seed and it's just self-seeding, so that is all good. Over here are my, there's a zucchini here, and there is a yellow straight neck carrot here. There's some cilantro, another patch of potatoes. Now in the foreground where there's nothing growing, that's an area that the voles got into this spring and ate all of the planted potatoes that were there. A lot of pain. And I have treated this. I'm just hoping that I've been able to get vole repellent in here and that they don't go after these guys as well. Ugh. Over here's my sweet pepper patch, interplanted with basil and marigolds. The marigolds were direct seeded, and you can see that they are just now starting to come up. And they will get so big, it'll be amazing. I can't wait. Lots and lots and lots of different peppers growing here, from the Super Shepherds to the Lipstick to the Charleston Bells. These are all sweet peppers. Marconis, and sweet bananas up there. The parsley that is going to flower, and I'm going to let it because that brings in beneficial insects. Here is a cabbage that has been eaten some by slugs. I'm going to be putting some more BT on this because it's outside from under the netting. Well, these are my cucumbers. These are poinsettia, which is one of my favorite kind of cucumbers, and they look like they're growing great this year. I will be putting some string across for trellising in this area. I also companion plant them with the nasturtiums and marigolds here in the foreground. And this is actually a calendula that's coming up right here. Here's a beautiful chamomile plant. Doesn't have flower buds yet, but it will soon, and I'm going to harvest that for tea. So I have 6 melons along this trellis. So that should provide lots and lots of small personal melons that I love so much. On the other side of the trellis, the outer sides, we've got gladiolas. This used to be the edge of my garden here. And I planted gladiolas many years ago, and they have just multiplied like crazy. This spring I put some beets in. They are getting close to harvest time. And I put a few lettuce transplants in a few weeks ago, and they're going to be ready to harvest soon too. Not sure what I'm going to do with this bed. I think I'm going to put my bean tower in here, and maybe I'll grow a zucchini at the end and let it kind of flop over, or some sort of summer squash in here. Underneath the tent are brassicas. Now we had a very hot spell, and look, it's starting to bolt. So I'll be just chopping that off and putting it in with stir fry. But I've got some kales in there, and that'll keep growing over the summer as well. Along the edge, I haven't planted this yet. Not sure what's going to happen there, but it'll be something, I'm sure. I figure this fence, much of it will be taken up with the cucumbers on the fence itself. I have additional tomatoes and basil. This is a Mountaineer's Pride, and this is a little sweetie, which is a cherry tomato. I have a volunteer, looks like a volunteer cucumber of some sort here. I might end up moving that. Here's a calendula and a marigold coming up. Today I planted, well, I didn't plant this one. Today I planted a bunch of the Kentucky Wonder pole beans up in this row right here. Growing here, we've got parsnips and radishes, which are ready to harvest. In fact, I'm going to harvest some right now for a salad. You can see how they're planted close by. I'm just going to pull the big one out, and this little guy will just keep growing on and keep getting bigger. That's a nice fat one. Look at that. So that will be a nice little salad offering for supper tonight. Growing up the back here, I have a Louisiana purple potted pole bean, and we have a whole bunch of peas. These are snap peas. And we've got brassicas growing under this tent, cabbages and broccoli and radishes. Let's see how the radishes are faring. We can get one more for dinner. These are huge. Look at these beautiful radishes. Oh my goodness, I love them. Dinner. Oh, look, the peas are starting to get little pods on them. Here are a couple of pots of some parsley and some carrots. So that's the tour. And hopefully things will continue to get better. If you love to garden and you love flowers and you're enthusiastic about cooking good fresh things that you grow yourself, this might be a channel for you. So please do give a like, subscribe, and it would be great if you could share this channel with others. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're well. Take care. Bye.